Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Lindsay, what are you hammering?
What do you mean?
What are you doing? What are you hammering?
I have to add more to the house.
No, Lindsay, we don't own this house. You can't do that.
I have to.
No.
Yes, I have to.
No, Lindsay.
I have to.
Lindsay, you can't. Hello, hauntlings. My name is Alyssa, here with my ghoulishly gorgeous wife and co-host, Lindsay. This is Macab at Midnight, where we rate all things that sit on a scale, starting with the adorably spooky and ending with the truly disturbing. On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about
The Winchester Mystery House.
woo woo woo, or also known as the Winchester Mansion.
Yes.
But as always, before we get into that, we have a little bit of information for you guys. If you tuned into last week's episode, which, in my personal opinion, was botched. If you tuned into last week's episode, then you know that we are doing a giveaway. That giveaway is for the book by June Lungden. It ends next Friday. You can find the link for it in our Discord. You can find it on our Instagram. Wherever you follow us on social media. You can also find it in the episode show notes for episode number 21. Go there, sign up, make sure you read the rules, and enter for your chance to win a copy of June's book.
Yes.
I also wanted to talk about our Patreon for a moment. As you guys know, you can donate and get some special happenings there. We did have a couple of donors for April. Super exciting.
Ooh.
We want to thank Vampire Sky, who donated on the Eldritch Abomination level.
Hell yeah.
And Pink Lady, who donated on the Cryptid level. So thank you guys so much for your donations. We are getting your boxes together right now. With that in mind, if you guys have already looked at our Patreon, hop back over, have another look. I did move things around a little bit because it occurred to me that the $5 box and the $10 box were basically the same with the difference of Discord channels. And I was like, that's not really
Yeah, especially
fair.
if you don't really have Discord or don't use Discord at all.
So you do get a little something extra in that $10 box. That was Lindsay's phone buzzing. You do get something a little extra in that $10 box. Go check it out. Another thing, we have a newsletter now. If you're in Discord, you'll automatically have access to it because we post everything that we post everywhere else in Discord.
Yep.
If not, go sign up for that. That's going to be on podcharm/macabre-at-midnight. Again, the link is going to be in our About Me notes, our show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So go sign up for that newsletter. It'll talk about things like giveaways, different guests, different updates, how we're going to change things around, all sorts of stuff. God, guys, I have so much to tell you. It's been so long. How long has it been? It's only been a week. Never mind.
I know, but
a lot
has happened in the last week.
Additionally, we're going to be doing giveaways every month. Once a month, we will do a giveaway, and you will get a $20 tier Patreon box. Okay, so those giveaways, we'll post the links whenever we do them. They will run for about 2 weeks every single time, and you will get a free Patreon box at the $20 tier level. So that includes a t-shirt. That includes one piece of Macab at Midnight merch, access to unedited show notes and unedited content. You get to hear our mess.
Oh, gosh.
And our dogs.
Our struggle with technical difficulties.
Yes. You will also have access to our, we're working on a series that is for Patreon users called Terrifying Travels. And that is where we will be traveling around to different areas once a month that are considered to be haunted or rumored to be haunted. And we're going to take our little travel mics and we are going to ghost hunt and discuss the history of the area while we are actually in the location. And you'll get that on every tier, of course. But whenever we enter you in that drawing, we will send you a digital copy of the file if you win that $20 tier.
That will be that bonus content.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm all over the place because usually I have this all written down, but I don't today. So we have that. We're recording before work again for Lindsay.
Yes.
So
apologies in advance if I sound extremely tired.
She just got up like an hour ago.
I am tired.
It's been a rough morning. We had a battle with a wasp. He's still out there in the house somewhere. I dropped a freaking 60-foot metal chair on my foot. Rolling Lindsay out of bed is never easy.
I got maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah. So, so I'm just going to sit over here and drink out of my new Macab at Midnight mug, which you can get on our second tier on Patreon. While I listen to Lindsay tell us about the Winchester mansion. So take it away, Lindsay.
Well, you lived in California for a time, yeah?
A very, very short time when I was very young. But we used to travel there.
Do you remember much about California?
Yeah, I do.
How about San Jose specifically?
Yeah, because we would travel to that area for vacation once in a while. We would go to the pier and Six Flags. So that San Jose is it's pretty close to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would go to San Francisco, and they didn't have a Chinatown, but they had a Japantown, which was super cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to visit there sometime. Actually, I wouldn't mind visiting the Winchester mansion. I think that would be neat.
Yeah, one time we went there. That was the one place I wanted to visit.
Yeah.
And we were going to visit it, but it was closed on the day that we went to go, so we didn't get to see
That's a bummer, because just looking up the outside of this place, it is massive.
Oh, yeah. We saw it from the outside. It was really beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It was really beautiful.
It is. It is really pretty. And of course, we'll probably post pictures of it on our social media and such. But
we're gonna try to.
Yeah,
we've been terrible at keeping up with social media, but we are working with we're correlating with V to try and get her. She's helped us a lot. We really appreciate her for it.
Oh yeah, she's a lifesaver.
And so she's definitely helped us with the social media aspect of it. So hopefully we can get some quality control in there. But go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you look at it from the outside, I believe the color of the outside is a golden yellow.
Yes.
And then it has this really pretty red roofing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all the roofing and all of the weird jumbled places that it is. Because it is all jumbled together.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
The house doesn't really have a defined house shape. It's just a bunch of little tiers of roofing.
Imagine that you're 8 years old and you're playing The Sims and you want to build a mansion. That's what this house is like.
You just keep adding layers and layers.
Yeah, you just build random freaking walls because you want the room to be shaped a certain way, so you have a hidden room that doesn't have a door to it. Yeah.
Well, did you know supposedly the house it's on is 162 acres or something like that?
No, I don't know any the numerical details. I suck at numbers.
I guess the garden, which was a Victorian styled garden, was about 18 acres.
Oh, wow.
Big. And that's just the garden,
That's amazing.
That's a massive garden.
Yeah.
So as a tourist, what all were you able to see from?
I was very young, so I will try and tell you as much as I remember. I remember driving up to it, and we could see the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of trees, because California has a lot of trees. And I think that there was a gate. I don't remember, but I remember being able to see the kind of the second floor of the house through the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
That's really all I remember.
See, that's interesting, because every picture I find of it is an aerial view. And that's just to capture how enormous this house is.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it, which we're going to dive into. Are you ready?
I am as ready as I'm going to be.
Our story begins in 1839 when Sarah Hardy would be born in New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay.
Around this time is when William Winchester would be growing up. I think they were roughly around the same age. I didn't get an exact age on him, but they both grew up in New Haven. They were both from really well-known families in the community. So jumping forward to 1857, now we have Oliver Winchester, who's William's father. He takes.
I love the name Oliver. It's so. I know it's an old name.
It is.
I don't like a lot of old names, but I like the name Oliver. There's something about it. It sounds so clean and nice. I love all of the Olivers out there. I love you, Olivers.
I don't feel like it's a name you hear very often. It's not a very common name anymore.
No, it's not, but it's it's very clean sounding. It makes me think of the color copper, a really pretty shiny copper.
I still think of the green shade, that Oliver green, that is it's named after.
I didn't know it was named after a green shade. I wonder if I think of copper because, like, the cat in me was, like, copper colored.
Oh, you know what? Maybe.
Oh, God.
I didn't even think about that.
Okay, anyway.
So in 1857, Oliver Winchester, this is William's father, he takes over the volcanic repeater. That's a manufacturer who made rifles that use the lever. And
Yeah,
they use the lever to
like
fire.
up on the top that you pull back.
You pull back to drop the bullet into the chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was more practical than the musket.
Yeah.
And you had to, like, put them...
Stuff a stick down in it.
Yeah, put the musket on the ground, like, stuff the gunpowder down in there, take the stick and do all that. Yeah.
Imagine an intruder gets into your house. Get the musket. You missed the first freaking time. Sorry. Oh, shit. I missed him. Can you just give me a second? Just hold still.
Yeah, stop moving so I can reload real quick.
Yeah, please. We can continue this in 3 minutes, okay?
You take like 5 minutes to reload your musket. Like, I'm getting there. You wait. You just wait. Right there. Don't you move.
Okay.
How about you both have muskets and then you're trying to rush? You're trying to rush to reload it, like whoever gets it done faster. Spilling gunpowder everywhere.
At that point, I'm like, just give me a lighter. I'm going to light the gunpowder.
We're both going up.
If I can't win, you can't win either.
So the Winchesters acquire that,
Sorry, it's stupid. Okay.
I know, you're right. You're still picturing it.
I am,
okay.
yeah.
But that's how wars and battles and shit were fought until these rifles came out. I mean,
that's not funny. But
I'm just thinking like the Revolutionary Wars where these kind of guns were used.
Oh my God.
Like,
Jesus,
what a pain that must have been. As if the like treacherous weather and all that crap wasn't bad enough.
Right. Oh my God. But we're 100 years forward. We were very sidetracked. But guys, that's hilarious. Don't act like you're not laughing. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Okay,
so after they acquire the assets to this repeater rifle that's way more practical than the musket, in 1860, the Winchesters decided there was still room for improvement. So they would come to develop the Henry rifle, which had a magazine that was located under the barrel. Mm-hmm. And it was actually the first rifle that could rapid fire.
Okay.
It could shoot up to 15 bullets.
Okay.
So they didn't have to reload right away.
And that is way more practical than the musket. Okay.
This gun would be utilized in the height of the Civil War. It would actually be the gun that would become famous to have won the West. During the Civil War.
I've heard of Henry.
Oh yeah. Really famous gun. So around this time, Oliver Winchester would decide to change the name of his company to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company.
Okay.
I think that's still the name of that company.
I mean, there's still, like, Winchester rifles. It's got to be Winchester.
I don't know if they ever changed it. And if they did, they probably just shortened it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But,
like, are these Winchester?
Yeah, these are the Winchesters. These are the ones who made the famous Winchester rifles.
Yeah, I had no idea that, like, the mansion Winchesters were the same.
Oh, yeah. Yes. But we'll get there. So shortly after this, in 1860, the Henry Rifles the company changes its name. And then in 1862, Sarah and William would get married. So now Sarah becomes Sarah
Winchester.
Sarah Party Winchester.
Sarah Party Winchester?
That's right.
Party.
Party
Winchester.
Yes. Pardee. It'd be a hell of a family to marry into. I mean, think how successful they must have been.
Yeah.
Like, their rifles took off in the Civil War.
I know.
They won the Civil War with those rifles.
Yeah, oh my God, you know what? I bet they were, like, highly revered after the freaking
for sure.
Civil War, man.
And, like, not to mention, they were already, like, one of those big,
renowned
families. Yeah. So, in July 15 of 1866, William and Sarah would welcome their first and only child. Her name would be Annie Party Winchester, which I actually think that they named a character or something after her. I think Annie Oakley is somewhat related to her somehow. I don't know. I didn't look that far into it, but I thought I heard that somewhere.
Well, I don't know who Annie Oakley is, first of all.
Sadly.
Oh my God, she died.
The infant Annie would pass away
I knew it. All the children died in the 1800s.
On July 24th, not even a month after she was born.
Oh, that's so sad.
She would die from a rare disease called Marasums. I think I said that right.
Spell it for our medical people who know
Mara.
I like how you just start spelling while I'm still talking. Like, I hope they can decipher that.
Okay. I'm going to spell it. It's Marasmus.
Okay.
It's a life-threatening disease that is a nutritional deficiency. Apparently, if a child gets it, they just have a hard time gaining weight. So maintaining their weight.
Is it do you know if it's something they develop or is it something?
It's something they're born with.
Okay. That's really sad.
And it's really hard to cure. Especially in infants, because you can't gain weight.
Even today, it's hard to cure?
Yeah, that's what I read.
Oh, yeah.
It takes up to a month to cure, and that's with constant treatment. And this is the 1860s.
Yeah.
So I imagine that was kind of hard, even for a wealthy family,
Especially, in the 1860s.
Oh, yeah, where they didn't have, modern medicine.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about that in our Waverly and our Stanley Hotel episodes. They were on, the brink of, medical science was just they were just kind of learning about it, and, people were just learning about bacteria and microorganisms and things.
Yeah, they were on the edge of the big medical science boom here.
Right.
But I don't think there were any IVs they could have stuck in this child to give her
continually
food.
Give her nutrients.
Oh yeah. So she passed away, unfortunately. The grief from losing her daughter would send Sarah into a state of near madness for about a decade.
Oh my God.
A period of grief that she wouldn't come out of until it was too late for her to try for another child.
That is so sad, man. I hate that for her. That is awful.
Well, the only reason why she couldn't have another child is because by this date, her husband William would have contracted tuberculosis.
Oh, Jesus, that tuberculosis, man.
That was a killer in the 1800s. Before this, her mother and her father-in-law, so Oliver Winchester and her mother, would both pass away in 1880.
This poor woman.
And then in 1881, William would die to tuberculosis.
Oh my God.
He passed away March 7th, 1881, and he left his entire Winchester fortune to Sarah, and Sarah alone.
Oh. Well, I mean, who else was he going to leave it to? That their kid didn't survive. Did he have, any brothers or anything that you know of?
No.
Okay, so it would make sense that it would go to her anyway.
She would inherit about 50% of the Winchester Company, $20 million.
Dang, that's a lot today. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah. Today, that is actually $600 million.
Ooh.
And because she owned 50% of the company, she still had a salary of about $1,000 a day.
Woo!
And that wasn't even taxed until 1913.
Holy.
Untaxed until 1913.
Oh my gosh. Wow, he definitely took care of his wifey before
she was rolling in it. She had so much money.
So, obviously money doesn't cure heartbreak.
No, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Because after losing her child, her mother, her father-in-law, and her husband, Sarah sought out spiritualism in order to try and figure out why all these bad things were happening to her, because she believed she was cursed.
Oh, that really makes me sad. That makes me so sad. Spiritualism was another thing that was in this time period. Houdini was seeking out spiritualism after his mother died. So it was really popular in this time, which I think we've touched on in past episodes. I don't remember.
I think there was an episode recently where we talked about how that was becoming a popular pastime for especially the wealthy, seances and things like that, where they would try to contact the spirits. And that's exactly what she did. She went to a medium or a spiritualist to try and figure out why all these bad things keep happening to her. And the spiritualist claimed that I don't know if the person she spoke to was man or woman. It didn't say. But they claimed that they were in contact with her husband, her deceased husband.
Yeah.
And the message that Sarah got was that she needed to move west. She needed to find a home that she could continue to build in order to make the spirits from the people who were killed by the Winchester rifles be at rest. Otherwise, she would be haunted for the rest of her life by them.
Oh my god. Okay. So, can I just, before we get into this, I just want to give, like, my thoughts before and then compare, like, my thoughts after, because I do already know some things about this, and I think a lot of our listeners do.
Yeah.
Honest conversations with interesting people. Hi, I'm Mike from the Genuine Chit Chat podcast, and I talk to a wide variety of guests across an eclectic range of interesting topics. People I've spoken to include a magister from the Church of Satan, a blind Australian filmmaker, a puppeteer from Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, and I also speak to musicians of all kinds of genres, authors, actors, podcasters. Really, there is no limit to who I speak to, and the subject matter is endless. So if you believe in the art of conversation and want to hear different people talking about their passions, then this is the perfect show for you. You can find Genuine Chit Chat anywhere you listen to podcasts, and there's some video versions on YouTube, so there's no reason not to tune in.
I know you're over there thinking, like, this person took advantage of this grieving widow.
Yeah.
It certainly sounds that way.
Yeah. But also, isn't it weird that, like, the place did continue to be haunted after she died?
That is the question. Was she really haunted by the spirits who were killed by the Winchester rifles?
Yeah, right. Because if they, like...
Or was she just a mad woman?
Because if they told her this to take advantage of her, then I hope they're burning. But also, just, like, based on what is said now, allegedly, maybe this person really, like, was legitimate, but I don't know much about the hauntings of the house yet. Like, I just know it's haunted, so I know that, like, they can hear, like, working, but we'll get into all that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
With this message, Sarah would begin her search for the perfect house that would land her 3 years later, 1884, in West California. So she's gone across the entire country from Connecticut, California. And I mean, she had the money to do it.
Yeah. I'd have the money to do it too if I was making $1,000 a day.
I know, right? You can move anywhere. You could take as many trips as you want.
I know.
So in 1884, she would end up in the Santa Clara Valley, San Jose, where she would purchase. Now, one source said it was an 8-bedroom house. The other said it was originally a 6-bedroom house. And the 162 acres of land that it sat on.
Okay.
And right away, she took the word of the medium that she spoke to and started building. She started adding on to the house.
I can't wait to get freaking YouTube, like, video, because, like, the way you nodded and smiled after. You're like, yeah, that happened.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, how long do you think she actually built onto this house for?
I know she built for the rest of her life. Wasn't it like, God, I don't remember, like, I have 2 guesses.
Okay.
One is 23 years. That's very specific, I know, but I feel like that's the accurate one. The other one's like 50, but that's just because I'm covering my butt.
Surprisingly, you're closer with the 50.
Oh, really?
She would build this house and build onto it for the next 36 to 38 years.
Oh, yeah, I knew it was like a really long time.
Oh, yeah, and she would actually have a staff of like 20 workmen, like constantly, year-round, kept them employed, kept them working 24/7.
You know what? They probably didn't even care. She was probably paying them good.
Oh, yeah. From what I understand, she actually paid them really well.
Yeah.
Treated them well. They lived in the house while they worked on it. Oh. And she even had, like, employee areas for them to hang out in.
So she was a lovely employer.
She was. Probably the best and only one in that age.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah. Now, I also did hear that as she got on in her years, she became something of a recluse.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Where she wouldn't leave her house. She wouldn't talk to the staff face to face.
Oh.
Like, especially as she got older. She had one person that she went through, and then that person would communicate with
Yeah.
the staff.
It wouldn't surprise me if she was depressed, to be honest with you.
I think in one of the documentaries I watched, I heard that she actually constantly kept her face shrouded in a veil.
Oh my
like
God.
in that constant state
Yeah.
of grieving that they do in the Victorian age.
That's so sad.
Yeah, so like nobody saw her, no one talked to her. She kept to herself. She even had secret passages where she can walk around the house without running into anybody.
Oh, okay. She is the ghost.
Yeah. I mean, might as well be. And you know what? She actually wasn't even that big of a woman. She was only like 4'10"
Okay.
and very small and petite in
Yeah.
size. So she was a very small
Very
lady.
small lady.
Oh yeah. Now every day or every night, Sarah would meet with the spiritualist.
Mhm.
Because she
The
actually,
spiritualist who
I don't know if it was the same one or a different one in
Okay.
California. So she just would meet with someone. She even had a seance room built into her house specifically for this reason.
Ooh. Oh, I don't know about all that, but go on.
So she would have her daily seances to speak with the spirits to find out what more she needed to add to the house in order to keep them at ease.
Right.
So every morning when she would meet with the foreman of the builders,
Yeah.
she would have different plans for the house.
Okay.
All of them hand-drawn. None of them really made sense.
I believe it. Because none of this story makes sense.
And apparently, if something didn't work out while they were building, if it just didn't work the way it wanted, they just built around it. So there were some walls inside the house that were exterior walls, but then became interior walls. There are windows that look into nothing.
That would drive me nuts.
Doors that
Went to nowhere.
went to nowhere. Doors that open to a 12-foot drop.
Yep.
There are staircases that don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of like staircases that literally just go up into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She added floors and towers to the house. There were chimneys, some of them that didn't even reach the ceiling.
You get lost in your own damn house.
Oh yeah, this place was a maze, and it was made to be a maze because it was meant to confuse the spirits.
I was gonna say she's probably trying to like confuse the spirits, keep them away from her.
Oh yeah. And I'm just gonna list some of the things I found that this place has. So it has like 47 chimneys, and like I said, not all of them are real chimneys. Some of them are fake chimneys. They're just chimneys that don't do anything. 15 fireplaces.
Oh, okay.
Several bathrooms, many staircases. I didn't get an exact number on the staircases, but
Did you say many or mini?
Many. She added 3 elevators.
Good lord. Okay.
It had a ballroom.
Well, yeah. You need a ballroom.
She would add on to this house until it was 7 stories tall.
That's not a freaking house. That's an office building.
I know. And you know what's weird? With all its bathrooms and baths and things it only had 1 shower. And it was her shower.
Oh, these workmen are probably stinky.
Well, I mean, they had baths, access to baths.
Okay.
Bathtubs, but not a shower. She was the only person who got the shower.
Okay. Right. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. And this house is stressing me out.
Well, I mean, I won't say she had something like that, but she did utilize the number 13 a lot. Almost every window pane had 13 panes of glass.
Okay.
There were some rooms with 13 windows.
Do you know what she thought the significance of the number 13 was?
No.
Okay.
There were floors that had 13 sections. Almost every staircase in the house has 13 stairs.
So what that might be is, I know today people look at the number 13 as an
Unlucky number.
Unlucky number. So
Yeah.
like there won't be like a 13th floor or a 13th stair, which doesn't make any goddamn sense to me because,
Well, there's 13 stairs in her house.
well, like in spiritualism, the number 13 is actually a very lucky number.
Is it?
It's a good number. If you see it turning up, then I don't know. I don't deal a lot with numerology.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually a lucky number that's just like, it's like it got distorted, kind of like the swastika has like a very negative meaning now because
Right.
of what it's associated with.
Right.
But before they ever took it, and did what they did with it, it was actually a positive symbol that was supposed to, like, bring good. I don't know exactly, but, like, it wasn't supposed to be a negative symbol. And the number 13 is kind of the same way.
Gotcha. So it was probably used as like a ward then for the unrested spirits that she claimed haunted her.
I have no idea.
Well, every staircase in the house had 13 stairs except for one staircase. This would be a spiraling staircase that would have 42 steps.
Oh, man, the workout. That's still not as bad as the frickin' steps to Vlad's castle.
Right. I mean, you think it would take you all the way up to the top of the house, right?
I don't know. I don't know how many steps you need for 7 stories.
Well, it doesn't, because every step on the staircase that's 42 stairs is only 2 inches tall. You're not going anywhere.
Oh, God.
You're going like 10 feet off the ground.
You're like walking in a straight line, basically.
Why is it like that? Nobody knows. It just is.
Okay. Whatever.
Just one of those other crazy little features.
That's more of a slide than it is stairs. It's a bumpy slide.
It's the only staircase like that in the entire house. Well, the house would have 7 stories up until 1906. And that is when the big famous earthquake of San Francisco would hit. This would strike the house because it is right there in that area, like you said earlier. And the first 3 stories of the house would collapse.
Oh, man. I was wondering, because, like, when we saw it, you're like, oh, it's 7 stories. And I remember it being big, but I was like,
not that big.
I don't remember it being that big. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
The collapse would actually trap Sarah in the room that she was in at the time.
Oh my God, is this how she died?
Just listen. This room was called the Daisy Room. The way I think she was trapped in there is like when the stories fell, it collapsed the chimney in that room, and that kind of like wrecked the room.
Oh no.
So like it fell in on her and she was trapped in there. Fortunately, one of her workers managed to get her out of the
thank God.
the wreckage. But she took this as a sign that she had gotten too close to completing the house.
Oh, okay.
So in order to remedy this, she sealed off the front 30 rooms of the house and left them unfinished and unrepaired. She boarded them all up.
So she thinks that by not finishing them, the house is
the idea is the house is supposed to remain in a constant state of like construction.
But here's the thing. If you're not working on it, it's not really in a state of construction, it's just not finished.
Well, she also believed that by sealing up those rooms, she might trap some of them inside. So the front 30 rooms were sealed up and the house continued its expansion.
This woman is tragic, but she's got to know that ghosts can walk through walls.
Maybe.
Like maybe they can walk through walls?
I don't know what her thoughts were. I think she just thought this'll keep them at bay for a little while we continue expansion. And I believe instead of going up from that point out, she went out. That way the house didn't collapse again, you know.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think there's been an earthquake quite that devastating since 1906 in San Francisco,
No,
but I don't really know. I just know that earthquake was like, it ruined like much of San Francisco.
Oh yeah, that's the one you can get online and find the video of the bridge like dancing.
Oh yeah, and like the street kind of like doing this little wave thingy.
Yeah.
Like it did like craziness. Now, September 4th of 1922, Sarah would have her final seance session.
As in, like, she's gonna die soon? Or as in she decides?
After she goes to bed, after her seance, she would not wake in the morning.
Aww.
She would pass away.
In her sleep.
You
know what? This woman went through a lot. I think she deserved a peaceful death.
She was 83 years old when she passed away.
That is old for back then. That's old for now, but that is old for back then.
Mm-hmm.
That is very old for back then. Okay.
Now, the estate would be inherited by her niece, who is Frances Marriott. And actually, her niece had been handling Sarah's affairs for a while. Because like I said, as she got older, she became a recluse. She didn't go outside. She didn't talk to anybody.
Right. So niece's hands were kind of in on this.
Yeah, I don't believe she even left her room much in her older age. By the time of her death, most of the fortune was gone.
Yeah, she spent it all on building a house.
Yeah, most speculate that she spent it on the 40 years of construction.
Yeah.
But there are rumors.
Don't say it's sealed into a room.
Somewhere in the house, in a safe somewhere, there could be like a stash of money that was set aside to like appease the spirits.
I feel like that's one of those embellishments that we talk about.
Maybe. I don't know. They did find a safe hidden behind like 6 doors.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah. But the only thing in the safe were mementos from her late husband and her child. So like a photograph, like a lock of hair, I think, and then like something of his.
That's so precious. Like, that's so sad because they were precious enough to her that she put them in a safe.
Yep.
Did your heart not break when you were reading about this woman's life? This is so sad.
Yeah, I felt bad for her. She was definitely like.
She's very tragic.
She like, her heart broke and it never got better. She like remained in a state of grieving forever.
That is so,
until the day she died.
That is so freaking sad. I hate that.
Yeah.
God.
Especially like, she walked around the house in a veil.
Right.
And from what I've heard, there were stages to grief in the Victorian age.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, there are now.
I mean, like, they would actually wear,
oh, you mean like legal stages?
Like
they had to wear black for the first year.
Yeah, like their attire would change. Like, they would wear all black. They would have a veil over their face.
I didn't know about the veil. I know that a widow in mourning had to wear black for a year after her husband passed, and she couldn't marry or anything.
That's another thing. I think she only wore black. I think she was only ever seen wearing black.
Okay.
And the veil shrouding her face. And I mean, that was her life. She lived it constantly in mourning. Constant. And just building and building on this house. After her niece got the house, and there wasn't much money left, they took all of Sarah's personal belongings out. Mm-hmm. Which was said to have taken up to 6 weeks because the movers kept getting lost. Kept getting lost in this house trying to retrieve her items, which I can understand.
Can you imagine? Oh my God.
You're walking down a corridor and you're like, wait a second. Which way did I come from?
You think it's bad where we work, like when you first get to the back of house? Can you imagine? Can you freaking imagine?
No.
They're like, hey, where is Bobby? You haven't seen Bobby in like 2 days. He's freaking. So you got to take like food and water in there with you.
This is like, and this is the 1920s. You ain't got like a walkie-talkie to be like, hey, what floor are you on?
I mean, like a can and a string.
You can't just call them up on your cell phone like, hey, yeah, I'm in the 6th bathroom on the 4th floor. Where are you?
I really don't know, but they should have like tied. I don't even know. I would have like tied a really like a ball of yarn to the front door, and then like walked with the string.
Everyone just has a different color.
Yeah. Oh God, damn it.
Remember, Jim, yours was purple. Follow the purple string to get back.
Who cut my string?
It somehow loops back around. You're like, wait a second, I've been going around in a circle for 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But after they managed to get all her belongings out, the house would be sold off to some investors who decided to change it into a tourist attraction. One of these investors would be Robert L. Ripley.
Oh my God. You know what's funny is I almost mentioned it at the beginning. We went to like Ripley's, believe it or not, but we didn't get to go to the Winchester house. I should have said it.
Yeah, he actually did feature the house in Ripley's, believe it or not. At the time, it was listed to have 148 rooms.
Do you remember that show?
Yes.
I loved that show. We watched it. It was so freaking... That was the beginning of my interest in the disturbing.
Oh, yeah. That show was definitely really cool. And the museum's really cool, too.
Mm-hmm.
But then later, in another article, 1928, published in 1928, the house would claim to have 160 rooms.
Oh, dang.
So this is a fun fact. Nobody actually knows how many rooms are in the house because every time they try to count them, they lose count or get lost.
You know, I feel like there's a smart way to do this, though. You know, like the yarn can get you back to the beginning. You can put numbers in the rooms. Like
start leaving arrows down to...
literally Labyrinth. Yeah, like that's how Sarah got through the Labyrinth. She lipsticked. Yeah,
but what if the house changes? What if it changes while you're...
It doesn't. They might say it does, but it doesn't.
It might feel like it does.
Right, yeah.
With how confusing this house is.
But I'm just saying, I would like hang numbers on the walls, like this is room 1, this is room 2. You know what I mean? So you know if it's been counted.
Yeah, I mean, that's an idea. Today, the house is owned by the National Park Services. It's protected as a historical landmark.
Makes sense.
It is open to tourists and tourism. They have tour hours. You could take tours. I think they might have haunted tours too, because
that's what we were going to go on.
Yeah, this house is said to be like the largest haunted house in America.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it has unknown amount of rooms, at least 160. That's a lot of rooms.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So the type of hauntings that are said to occur in the house are shadow figures. Mm-hmm. Footsteps.
You can hear the workers.
The furniture being moved around, shuffling. And they say that Sarah Winchester herself still haunts the house.
I wouldn't be surprised. She's probably still stuck in a state of freaking mourning.
But maybe.
You know, when you have a tragic life like that, a lot of times it's really hard to move on.
Yeah, and she died in her sleep. She died in that house.
Yeah. That
house was her life. It was the only thing she did with her life after she lost her husband.
Right.
From 1884 to 1922, that house was everything. I mean, she didn't leave the house. She didn't talk to anybody outside the house.
That was all she had.
It was like her obsession.
Yeah.
Just constant building and building and building. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt it if she still haunted this house.
Yeah.
And I mean, there have been reports of sightings of her, at least like her apparition wandering the halls. She's known to like haunt the room that she died in. So not the Daisy room. The Daisy room wasn't actually her bedroom. She had another bedroom, but that's it. I mean, it sounds like your regular type of haunted house. For the most part, there's nothing crazy negative going on there. Just
mostly residual, it sounds like.
Residual. Now, I did watch some investigators, and actually, all the responses they got were quite intelligent.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
They believe they contacted Sarah herself, and she followed them throughout the house.
Oh, my God.
While they were doing their investigation.
Do you know what was said?
They kept asking Sarah, is that you? Did you just light that up? They had REM pods.
Yeah.
They had like this little music box that would go off when you got close to it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And so those would keep going off. And every time they would ask, like, is that you, Sarah? It would respond like, yes, that was me, or it's me.
Wow. That's freaking wild. Where would you rate this?
I'm going to say this is disturbing. Truly disturbing for me, just because the idea that she's still there, maybe, wandering the house, maybe still trying to figure out how to continue to build it, which even after death, I think would be horrible.
I agree with you. I think that it's truly disturbing, but not because of the haunting part. I think everything that occurred leading up to it.
Oh yeah, not only that, it's just the fact that this was her life.
Right.
This is all she did for the last 40 years of her life.
Right. I would say that it's truly disturbing. Like, living a life like that would be truly disturbing.
And the fact that she did it because she was so convinced that she was being haunted by the spirits of the people killed by their Winchester rifles.
Yeah. Imagine carrying that guilt. She couldn't
even enjoy the wealth that she inherited, or even maybe have hands in the company that she half owned, because she was so obsessed. Because of the life she lived. Like, that's all she did for the last 40 years of her life was build on this house.
And that would be a really tragic way to live. And especially back then, they didn't have the science and stuff we do now. Like, so people were more liable to believe in the spiritual world, which I believe exists. But back then, I feel like a lot more people, they just, like, you would believe the first guy that walked by you and said, hey, the ghost of your Bonnie boy over there says this, and I'm a psychic,
Oh yeah.
So
it was hard to prove credibility.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it still is, but we know to be more skeptical of people.
Yeah, because people were just claiming anyone could, like you said, anyone could claim they were a psychic, medium, psychic. And
I've mentioned in the past how, like, people would have their kids, like, hide in cabinets, and, like, knock on the cabinets, and they would hold, like, seances, like, I've mentioned that. So if that initial psychic took advantage of this woman, shame on your soul. Shame on your soul. So that was a wild walk through history. I think it was very tragic. But if you liked this episode of Macab at Midnight, then make sure you like, rate, and subscribe. It helps us reach new listeners like you. If you guys are feeling so generous, head on over to our Patreon. And if you feel so inclined, help us out. Support us by going over to Patreon and give us a donation. Our donation tiers start at $5, and that's going to be at patreon.com/midnightpodcast24. You can also sign up for our newsletter or join our Discord. The links are in our About Me. And until then, make sure to sprinkle a little bit of salt in your carpet, burn some sage, and we will see you in your nightmares.
Stay skeptical.